Working with dashboards, creating a dashboard prompt. You are probably already familiar with using dashboard prompts if you've ever used any of the financials, employee, research, student, or other shared dashboards available to you in UX's analytics. A dashboard prompt is a specific kind of filtering tool that, when created, saved, and applied to a dashboard, can filter all or some of the analyses that are embedded in that dashboard page. A dashboard prompt is interactive and is nearly always displayed on the page so that the user can prompt for different values without having to entirely rerun the dashboard. A dashboard prompt, therefore, is simply a dynamic filtering tool made up of one or more dashboard prompt fields used in conjunction with one or more analyses on a dashboard page. Now, there are just a few basic steps you need to accomplish to get your analysis working on the dashboard with the dashboard prompt. Of course, there are many other intermediate steps, but it's helpful to start with a quick outline. You'll start with an analysis, such as the one I have on my screen. You can create a brand new one. With the analysis, you'll decide which filters you're going to use with your prompt, because the prompt replaces the filters that are being used in the analysis itself. You'll edit those filters. Then you create the prompt, and then you put the analysis and the prompt together on a single dashboard page. Now, in this case, I'm starting with a pre-built report. This little report is simply counting the number of transactions that occurred in a fiscal period, in a month, within a particular organization, and it's simply ordered and arranged by account number within those organizations. And you can see the filter view down below that shows the filters that I have in use. But it's better if I look at the filters from the Criteria tab. So I'm going to click on the Criteria tab and open that up. Now, these are the three filters that I have to work with. The filters are, there's one for college code. And this filter for college code, I'm going to edit this filter to show you what it looks like. This is coming from the college code data column, but that college code data column, I need to know where that comes from as well, where that college code value comes from. And that's coming from the organization hierarchy financial system table, and the name of the column is called college code. So I have to remember that, and I need to write that down or make a note of it in my mind, however it is I do that best. So organization hierarchy financial system college code is where that data column comes from. And I can cancel all of this. And because I'm going to use that one, I'm going to replace this filter with the dashboard prompt field. This next filter I'm not going to replace, so I'm going to leave this filter in place exactly as it is. This is just filtering out those odd situations where there might be an organization code that doesn't actually have a number, it's just a dash, and I don't need that in the report. But this is other filter here, the period number is equal to 09. This one I'm also going to be converting to a dashboard prompt field. So I need to know where this period number data column comes from. So I'm going to edit the filter, click on the little FX button here, and it tells me that that comes from the fiscal period table right here and the period number data column. All right, so I'm okay with that. I can cancel out of this, and I can cancel out of that. The other thing I need to note here is the values that I currently have in place for the two filters that I'm going to be modifying. College code is equal to, in this case, UITS, and period number is equal to 09. Now, at the time I'm making this video, 09 is the fiscal period from the previous fiscal period. So it's last month, in other words. And I just need to know that as well, in case I want to set those two values in the dashboard prompt as I create the dashboard prompt. So now that I've identified the two filters that I'm going to be modifying, I simply can modify them. I'll edit the first one, college code once again. And this modification is very simple. You just change the operator from whatever the operator is, having made a note of it, and change it to the isPrompted operator. And that's it. And I do the same thing with the period number filter. Edit that, make sure I make a note of the fact that it's an is equal to filter, and I change the operator to isPrompted, and click OK. My filter has been saved, or it has been modified, excuse me, and now all I have to do is save this report and I'm pretty much ready to start, almost ready to start building the dashboard prompt. So I'm going to click the Save As option here. I'm going to save a second copy of this report, so that I have my original in place if I ever need it again. So I'm just going to add the word prompted to this report, and I'll click OK. And it's now got a new name. The last thing I have to make note of here is that the subject area that's being used for this report is the KFS Ledger Entries subject area. That's important because I have to build the dashboard prompt using that same subject area. So when I get ready to do that, I need to remember that. As part of the process for building a dashboard prompt, essentially replacing the filters in a report with filters that are coming from that dashboard prompt, is the option of using what's called a variable in place of a hard-coded value in the dashboard prompt. Remember just a moment ago, in this period number filter, it used to say period number is equal to or is in 09. Rather than having 09, which equates to last month, I think I have a variable available to me that I could use in place of that hard-coded value. You can learn more about variables in other documents and other videos, but for this little short demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can find the variable to use in place of a hard-coded value. Now there's a variable dashboard available to you. Under Dashboards, down in the UAXS Analytics section, it's down near the bottom, and if I can get down there, there it is. There's the Variables Dashboard. Now, on the Variables Dashboard, what I'm going to be looking for is a value that is the same as the value I had in that filter when the filter was carrying the value. I know that sounds confusing. What I'm looking for in this particular case is simply a fiscal period number, period 09. Now this variables dashboard, without going into too much detail, is broken into sections. And in this case, I'm looking in the fiscal years, periods, and quarters section, and I'm looking for a currently returned value of 09. So I'm simply going to go down this column of currently returned values and look for anything that says 09. And here we go. Here's one right here that says 09, and that is, this being April of 2020, 09 equates to March of 2020. So this is the value that I want to be returned with the variable. This is what the variable means, previous fiscal period number, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the variable itself, prev f period number. So I'm making a note of that. I'm writing it down so that I have it available to me, so that when I create the dashboard prompt, I can use that variable rather than using the hard-coded value of 09 in my dashboard prompt. So what that means is, as I run the dashboard and with that dashboard prompt, the prompt will always default to last month, which is generally a handy thing for it to do, or whatever variable it is that you would use in your particular case. In this case, I'm using previous fiscal period number. So that's one other thing that I'm making note of as I get started with building my dashboard prompt. All right, now I'm about ready to start building my prompt. So I'm going to go to the New menu, and I'm going to select Dashboard Prompt. And the first thing I have to do is select that subject area that I wrote down. Do you remember what it was? Yeah, I do. It was KFS Ledger Entries. So I'm scrolling all the way down into the KFS section of my subject area list. It's way down here. And I can find the KFS Ledger Entries, not Labor Ledger Entries, but KFS Ledger Entries subject area, and I click on the name of that subject area. And the screen's going to change, and it's going to take me into building mode for a new dashboard prompt. All right, we've edited the analysis to start with. We modified those two filters. Along the way, we went through the variables dashboard and selected a variable that we can use to replace one of the hard-coded values in one of those filters. And we've now come over here to the new dashboard prompt screen. This screen at first glance seems a little Spartan, a little bare. There don't seem to be many instructions here to tell us how to start building our prompt. It does tell us that we can add prompt for users when they run the analysis, which is helpful. But the thing that you need to look at or notice is that there's a small button bar over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And it's the bright green button that you're going to start with. That's the new button. So I'm going to start creating the new dashboard prompt here. And remember, this dashboard prompt is replacing the two filters in that report that I just modified a few minutes ago. So I'm going to click the new button, and the system gives me three options here. The option that you'll almost always select is column prompt. So I'm creating a new column prompt dashboard prompt field. And the system offers me a set of columns here that I can use, or a set of tables actually that I can use. And this is where I have to refer back to the values that I should have written down when I was editing my filter to begin with. And that first value that I want was college code. Now that college code, I know, comes from the organization table. And if I open up the organization table, I'll see I've got a number of things here. There's organization code and there's other things in here, but I also remember that it comes from the organization hierarchy financial system subtable. And I can open that up, and now here I can find college code. That's going to be the field for my first dashboard prompt. I'll select that column and click OK. And now you're in a similar position that you were in when you created the filter for the original report. I'm using the college code label. I could give it a custom label if I wanted to. I could also give it a description. But now I'm right back to building a filter. I have an operator, and this is the operator I want to use. It's the is equal to or is in operator. And then I have another choice to make. I have a number of different ways I can present these values to the users of this dashboard prompt. The default input option, choice list, is the one that is most often used. But there are other options too. There's text fields where you could type in a value that has no list. You just type the value in. There's a choice list, which is the default. You can also use something called checkboxes or radio buttons or a list box. We're going to stick with the default value of choice list. All right. And then we're going to explore the options that exist here as well. The options give you exactly what you would think, some options to use. You can choose what column values we're going to use in this particular case. We're going to use all values. You can choose to include the all column values in the list if you wish. I'm not going to do that. You can allow the user to select multiple values, in this case, multiple college codes. I think I'm going to leave that one turned on. That would be a sort of standard way, but I could turn it off as well. I could also allow the user to type values in rather than having necessarily to select through the list. And those are standard options that I can use. The other thing, though, that I want to do is I want to have a default selection. I usually go with a default selection because you want the report to run in a limited way rather than allowing it to run wide open. So I usually will come in here and I'll say, in this case, default selection, specific value, and then I'm going to add a value, and I'm going to find the value that I want to use as the default, and that's going to be UITS. And I double click that and moved it over here to the selected side, click OK. And there's my specific value that this particular prompt is going to have in it when it's placed on a dashboard page, and the report itself will run for UITS just as it had, but the user will be able to change it to any other college code on campus. All right. I don't need to use this set a variable option down here at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And here is my first variable, field, or not variable field, excuse me, my first dashboard prompt field. We'll come back to this little display area in just another few minutes. I want to build my other dashboard prompt field first. So I'm going to come back up here to new. Here's my college code filter that I've just put in place. And I want to build a new one again, so new column prompt. This one is going to be for the fiscal period number. Now, do you remember where that one lives? Yeah, it's under the fiscal period table, and it's simply called period number. And I'll click OK, and I'm now starting to build my second dashboard prompt field. I'm not changing the labels. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm leaving everything pretty much the way it is. The operator is exactly what it was in the filter, is equal to or is in, and my user input is going to be choice list. And I'm going to open up the options again and see what I have available to me here. They're the same options I had before. In this case, I want to restrict the user to only be able to select a single value, so I'll turn this option off. And I think I'm going to turn this one off too. This is going to require that the user select something. And in fact, I can require that they select a specific or select something. They can't just leave the field blank. So they're going to have to select something here. And you'll see the difference when we save this. I'm not limiting the values. I'm not doing anything else. I'm allowing them to pick whatever value they want. I'm requiring that they pick a value, and I'm only allowing them to pick one. All right. Now, my default selection down here, this is going to be different from the other option, because in this case, rather than using a specific value, I'm going to be using a server variable. And in this server variable field is where I have to type that little string of code that I had written down, or that I should have written down, when I looked at the variables dashboard page. And if I spell it right, that would work a lot better. Okay, so there's my server variable that I'm using here. Here on the dashboard prompt, you use the server variable option. In other places, you use a different option. But here, this is server variable, and I type in the prev fiscal period number code, and I click OK for that. And there's my second dashboard prompt field created. It's a required field. And I've built the two fields that I need for this prompt. Now I can come down here to the display area. And in this particular case, you can see that the two filters are sort of stacked on top of each other, and the apply and reset buttons are listed down below. But notice the values that are in the two fields. College code is equal to UITS. Period number is equal to 09, just as it was on the filter when I was using the filter in the analysis. Notice the little asterisk here in front of period number. That indicates to me and the user that that's a required field. With the college code field, I can select any other college code that I want, but UITS is the default value. And I can select any fiscal period number I want, but the previous fiscal period number, depending on when you're running the analysis, is the one that is selected by default. My only options here, or the options that I can choose to make, are how do I want these things displayed? Do I want them displayed stacked on top of each other like this, or do I want them next to each other? If I want them next to each other, I can actually use the new column option up here in the prompt label section and make this second field, the period number field, appear in a second column, just like that. When I made that selection here, it changed how these values appeared in this prompt down below. The other option I want to avail myself of and give you a chance to show you the other options is I want to move these buttons over here to the side. So I'm going to click the pencil button, the edit button for the page here. And here's my edit page settings. The one thing that I know is that I don't need a title for this dashboard prompt, so I'm going to remove those words from the title field and leave them blank. I'm going to place the label on the side of the prompt just as it is here. It's to the side of the field. I can leave this rest of the stuff available. I can show the apply button and show the reset button by default. That's how it's set up. But here's where I want to change this. Rather than placing the buttons below the prompts, I wish to place the buttons on the side of the prompts, and I'll click OK. And that's what my prompt looks like. You can set this up any way you need, any way that is best for you, to just have it displayed on the page in a certain way. This is sort of a standard method of lining the dashboard prompt fields up. You can line them up any way that suits your needs best. But at this point, all I need to do is save this dashboard prompt, and I'm ready to put it together onto a dashboard page along with that report, and we'll get to see how this works. So I'm just going up to the Save button, and I'll save this. Now, I know where I saved that report, and I saved it here in my folders Financial Analyses, and so I'm going to save this here. I'm just going to call this, let me see, document count prompt, because that document count report is what I'm going to use this to prompt. So document count prompt. And I'll click OK. It's been saved. It's now called document count prompt. And I'm ready to put both this prompt and the actual report together on a dashboard page. Now, just to remind myself and to sort of come back to a starting point, I'm going to go back home just briefly, because I want to see, there's my document count prompt, and here's my report. It's called Number of Documents Created Each Month Prompted. Okay, so these are the two things I need to put together on a dashboard page. And I'm going to put them together on my own personal dashboard. So I'm going to go to Dashboards, My Dashboard, and here's my main dashboard. I have a bunch of pages up here, so I'm going to add another new blank page. I'm going to edit my dashboard. And using this small button bar on the upper right-hand side, I'm going to add a new dashboard page. Not a subpage, but a page in and of itself. And I'll call it document count. Document counts, I guess. I could give it a description if I wanted to. I'll click OK. And here's my empty document counts dashboard. Now I just have to remember where I saved those, both the dashboard prompt and the report. And I know that they're in the My Folders folder over here in the catalog pane. So I'll open that up. I also know that they're in the Financial Analyses area in that folder. So I just need to find the prompt and the report. Now the prompt is called Document Count Prompt, and notice the icon. The icons are different. They have a different little icon for them, so it's easier to find those. So I'm going to grab the Document Count Prompt and simply drag it and drop it into the dashboard. There it is. When I drop it into the dashboard, notice it comes with its own section and its own and it's in a column as well. That's the way dashboards work. Now I'm going to scroll down through my list in my catalog and find that report. If I remember right, it was called Number of Documents, something like that. Here we go, Number of Documents Created. And mine is, the one that I want for this dashboard is the one called Number of Documents Created Each Month Prompted. So I'm going to grab that report, that analysis, and drag it into the dashboard as well. And I'm going to drop it in so it shows up in its own section. All right, section 1, section 2. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much how it works. Now I'm going to do one other thing. This document count, I'm going to save this right away real quick. So I'm going to click the Save button. Notice I don't have to give it a name or anything. It's already got a name. It's called Document Counts on my dashboard. But what I want to do is move this Document Counts dashboard page all the way up to the very front of the dashboard set, all of these different dashboard pages, and then drop it one level below the overview page. So I'm going to click on this Tools button right here and go to Dashboard Properties. And on this Dashboard Properties screen, these are all my dashboard pages that I have available to me. And that Document Counts dashboard page, the one I just created, is all the way down at the bottom. I need to move it all the way to the top, so I'm just simply going to select it and use the Move Selected Items to the top of the list button. Boop. And that moves it all the way up to the top of the list. And now I'm going to move it down one notch to put it below the overview page. Just like that. All right. So now it's fine. I can click OK. And I'm going to click Save again. And notice the placing of that tab is now exactly where I wanted it to be. I'm going to save one more time. And all I need to do now is click Run. And when I click Run, the dashboard page is generating itself. There it is. I could make a couple of other changes if I wanted to. But now my report is filtered exactly the way it was 15, 20 minutes ago when I started this presentation. But I can now change it. The user, if it's me or if it's somebody else, I can change this and look at any other organization on campus and say I want to look at the library rather than UITS. And click Apply. Notice I did not change the period number. And the report is running again. It's running with the values that are here in the dashboard prompt. And this is the first time that I've run this report, so it takes an extra second. But now I can look. My report certainly has changed, and I can see the number of documents that have been created in this particular organization. And I can see that it is filtered to the library for period 9. If I want to look at a different period, I simply pick that period. Takes another few moments to run. I can tell it's running because the little barber pole, blue barber pole in the upper right-hand corner is moving. And here's my report, and it is definitely set to period 6. And my numbers have in fact changed. So I can tell you right away that the prompt is working 100% correctly with the report that I've also placed on this dashboard. The reason that they work together is at least twofold. First of all, both the prompt and the report come from the same subject area, and the filter, the prompt field here, is using the same data column that is being used in the filter in the report itself. College code, period number, period number. As long as those things match, and then the prompt and the analysis are put together on the same dashboard page, they will interact and they will function properly. And that's all that has to happen to build a dashboard prompt. I realize that this is a fairly long video, but it's a useful video as well. And you can make there are some other modifications and things that you can make. Please take a look at the Working with Dashboards, Creating a Dashboard Prompt booklet. There may be a few more ideas in there. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is Working with Dashboards, Creating a Dashboard Prompt.